Good day, everyone. You probably recognize me. I'm Ron Brown. I've done many presentations for APCUG and talked to many computer clubs. I also produce a show called Tech for Seniors, and we've just passed our 30th taping. The topic I want to talk today is navigating the post-COVID era. Wow, what a 6 months or 8 months it's been. I'm sure everybody has been affected in a lot of different ways. I want to talk a little bit about my personal experiences and tell you how it affected me and our family. I'd like to take you back to March of this year. We were in our home in Arizona. We'd been following the COVID crisis for a number of months. But by mid-March, most of the activities at Silveridge had closed down. It was time to head home. On the way home, we saw empty roads, empty gas stations, and as we drove through Seattle, the roads and highways and freeways were all pretty much empty. The Canadian border, there was no one there, and on the ferry over to Vancouver Island, very few cars. We made it home safely and did our self-isolation. Now I'd like to tell you about my family. Our oldest daughter, Jennifer, is a teacher, along with her husband, at the Western Academy of Beijing. This, of course, created quite a problem. I'd like to give you a bit of history of what happened. Julian, our grandson, along with Jennifer and Dave, came to visit us in Mesa in December, and we had a wonderful Christmas. 3 weeks, lots of fun, lots of food, and lots of merriment. Sadly, on January 1st, they had to go back home to Beijing. COVID wasn't really a big problem at that time. It had just started. So they went back and taught school for about 2 weeks. They are both in the middle of their careers. They have their master's degree and hold senior positions at the school. They're doing extremely well, and we're so proud of them. About 2 weeks into January, it was Chinese New Year. So they decided to fly to Phuket, Thailand, and have a holiday for the 2 weeks that Chinese New Year was. They took with them very little, swimsuits, they did take some electronic gear and ended up in Phuket, which is a very lovely place. Unfortunately, the borders closed quickly in Beijing or in China, and they could not return. They spent February in Bangkok wondering what to do, and as the crisis increased, the time came when the Canadian government said, it's time to head home. They got the last flight out of Bangkok before the airport pretty much shut down and ended up in Vancouver and over to the island here. They arrived in our area about 3 days before we did, and we both did our self-isolation before getting together. What a happy time that was. And they stayed with us for 7 months and just recently returned to Beijing. It took a little getting used to have a 3-year-old running around the house. It also was difficult because all the playgrounds were closed and there was no activities. However, we all got our little space in the house and managed to survive. Jennifer and Dave continued to teach full-time, and the school in Beijing, the Western Academy of Beijing, remained open. So the teaching was done virtually through Zoom and technology such as that. I have to tell you about an interesting experience that we had. It happened that one day, Dave, who is a department head of the school, had a big Zoom meeting. Jennifer, again, she's a department head. She had a big Zoom meeting that she was also moderating. I actually, at the same time, had a third Zoom meeting that I was doing a presentation or a conference. I don't remember exactly what it was, But all these 3 Zoom meetings came at exactly the same time. So, so we talked about how we were going to do this, and so we set Dave up down in our sunroom in the downstairs area here, and he was all ready for his meeting. We put Jennifer upstairs in the or upstairs in our front room, and she got her computer system all set up for her conference. I have my studio down here in my office area, and I got ready for my conference. We put the little guy in front of the TV in the kitchen and put on Netflix, and so he could keep him quiet for the hour in which we were all doing 3 major Zoom conferences at my house. Well, that was a very interesting experience. As I was racing downstairs, I saw my wife on the computer as well. I said, don't download any pictures or do anything. I don't know how all this bandwidth is going to do. Anyway, we did it. We had 3 big Zoom conferences in one house, all through our internet and services that we have. So the first topic that I want to talk about today is communication. There is no doubt in my mind that COVID-19 has changed the way that we will communicate with each other. I think this will continue on permanently in the future, and we're going to be using electronic types of media to talk to one another, such as Zoom, such as Meet, all the different forms that we have. It will be very important in the future that we use those technologies to stay in touch with one another. I want to just go over some of these pictures that you'll see behind me. They show the despair, the loneliness of seniors that have been in isolation for many, many months. They can't see their loved ones, they can't talk to them. And as you watch these pictures, I want you to look at their eyes, look at the people involved, and see how absolutely desperate they are for contact and communication. At the end, I want to show you the picture, a slide of a nursing home who actually has electronic tablets and people can communicate. So the next segment I'm going to talk about is communication and the change that is happening now and that will happen over the next year. On my way home from Mesa, I was thinking as I was driving in the car about social isolation that seniors are going to have. They're also going to have a lot of technology questions. How could I help them? In my first week back in self-isolation at our home here in Comox, I came up with the idea of starting a show called Tech for Seniors. I had wanted to do this for a while, but I needed a co-host. I knew Huey Popluck from some work we did with Chromebooks earlier that year. I sent Huey a note and asked him what he thought about the Tech for Seniors project. He said he would only support it if he could be co-host. Of course, the rest is history. We started the show on sort of a wing and a prayer, not knowing what we were getting into. We had no idea that it would continue on as long as it has or become as successful or as popular. It's now distributed now through Canada and the United States with a growing audience every week. Communication is so important with our loved ones. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about Apple and FaceTime. FaceTime is owned by Apple. It's an app. It's a messaging service, but more for video. It's excellent. It works very well around the world, but it's only available if you have an Apple device. Those of you who know me know that I have a lot of technology in my house. I am primarily an Android guy and don't have any Apple products whatsoever. Recently, my two daughters decided to have a talk with me and wanted to stay better connected. I don't know why, but they wanted to increase communication, and they are all Apple people. They said, "Dad, you have to get an iPad." I said, "I have tablets all over the place. I have all this technology. I have computers in boxes that I'm supposed to be testing. I haven't even opened them." I said, "What do I need another electronic device?" "Well, Dad, we really would like you to get an iPad." So I did. I bought an iPad. Now, I have to tell you this story about my second daughter. The first daughter, you of course, Jennifer, we've already spoken about, but my second daughter lives in Adelaide, Australia. We're so proud of her. She has two lovely grandchildren. She's an ICU nurse at the Royal Adelaide Hospital. She's currently doing her master's program in nursing and a very busy person. She's a wonderful person, but she never calls home. At least not enough that we're really happy about. So, and whenever we try to call her, of course, she's always doing shift work and not at home. So I thought, well, okay, maybe this is going to work. So I get the iPad and I open it up and do the setup. The first thing there is FaceTime. So I thought, okay, let's do a FaceTime call and see if she really answers, right? So I hit the button and bingo, one ring, there she is, and it's very good quality. And she says, "Hi, Dad, I guess you got your new iPad." One ring, boom, she's there, and I get my new iPad. And I said, "Oh, this is sort of cool." So we have a nice chat, and this worked out quite well. So a couple of days later, I thought, well, we're going to try this again. Again, I hit the button. Boom, one ring, she's right there. And she said, "Oh," she says, "Dad, we have 6 iPads in the house." She says we have two, the kids each have one, then we have a couple of the older ones, and then her and her husband both have iPads along with their iPhones. And whenever it rings on all those devices, so everyone knows someone's calling. Well, while we were going through and talking about this, our little grandson, Alex, pops in, and his head pops up on the iPad in Australia and says, Grandpa, let me show you our new house." So then he takes us around and shows us the whole house, shows us all his room and what he's doing and how they're making out and so on and so forth. And then he takes us to his brother. His brother Sam is doing a Lego project, so Sam has to explain the whole Lego project to us. And about an hour later, they take the iPad back to Mom, who's in the kitchen, saying, "Gee whiz, breakfast is ready now. We have to go." All right, so what's the point of this story? No, it's a true story. The point is this. If you want to communicate with your family or your loved ones, you need to know what ecosystem they're in. You need to know their communication priorities and how they work their own lives so that you can communicate with them. We'll talk about other technologies in a minute, but clearly that our family, particularly in Australia, is all in with Apple. So trying to do something different just won't work. Skyping won't work. Using Duo, which we're going to talk about next, won't work. They're all into the Apple product. So in other words, I'm going to use my iPad as a telephone. It's going to be a communication tool that we can use to keep in touch with our loved ones. I want you to think about that now, as all those people in long-term care that you saw earlier that were so lonely they couldn't communicate with their family. Wouldn't it have been so much easier if they just had a tool like an iPad and they could have talked all day to their loved ones, right? This is so important. Okay, now we've talked about FaceTime. Let's talk about Google and a product called Duo, D-U-O. Duo is an app. It's made by Google, and it does exactly the same thing that FaceTime does. It works just as well as FaceTime. It's a video chat that you can use, and I'm going to show you how it works in a minute. But and it's cross-platform, so you can use Duo on an iPad. You can use it on any Android device and a Windows device. Any device at all, you can use Windows. You can use Duo, and it will work just fine. It has the same quality as FaceTime, and it works very, very well as giving you free long distance calling in Canada and the United States. So I'm going to show you now a little video clip on how I use Duo to call my friend Byron. A lot of people have talked to me and said, gee whiz, I don't think Granny or my loved one could really understand how to open menus and make a call using an iPad or using some electronic device. I want to show you how easy it is. There are, both on the Android devices and your Apple devices, you can make what we call widgets. Widgets are little apps that are on the that are part of the program that allow you to streamline the process. And in this next video, you're going to see it's a clip out of a program I wrote on communication and on organizing your smartphone. So what you'll see in this video, what you're going to see in this short clip, is how I call my friend Byron from my Android phone. Now, most of you who have smartphones realize that you'll open the app, you'll find the person you want to call, you'll hit call, and then it will work. But there are some processes that you have to go through. With widgets, you can automate this, and in this case, I have a picture of Byron on my phone. So all as I have to do when I want to connect to him with Duo is click on his picture, and it will immediately connect me with my friend Byron. So one of the things that you can do, whether you're using Duo or whether you're using FaceTime, is you could have pictures of people on the screen. You would just make these up, and you could have a picture of yourself, maybe a picture of your wife, a picture of your grandkids. And so whoever wanted to make a call and wanted to communicate with you would just click on the picture. And I think that most people would be able to do that. So there are many ways of using these devices that will make connection easy for most people. So let's see how this works.
Now I want to show you the value of a widget. What are widgets? Widgets are simply part of the apps that you download. So when you download an app and install it on your smartphone, it may have one or more widgets associated with it. These are add-on programs that the developers have put there to make your experience with that app much better. Not all apps have widgets, and they don't really tell you whether they do have widgets or not. Sometimes it's in the program description when you download them, but a lot of times you just have to go and look in the widgets menu and see if there's a widget associated with your app. I would encourage you to do that because these widgets make your life so much easier. For example, I like to call my friend Byron lots, and I use an app called Duo. This is an excellent communication tool that works on iPhones and iOS and also Android. There's a widget associated with it, and with that you can create an icon for the person that you want to call. And the person who I often want to call is my friend Byron. And you will see that there's an icon here with Byron's picture in, and this is a widget. And it's made for the Duo app, and watch what happens when I click on the widget. I'm clicking on the widget now. It's going to connect with the video call. and here's my friend Byron, and we're going to have a chat. Now, if I hadn't used the widget, I'd have to open Duo up. I would have to then go into my contact list. I'd have to find Byron and then call him. But by using the widget, it allowed me just to click on that and it immediately put through the call to Byron. And that's the advantage of using a widget.
Okay, now we've talked about using Android and Apple equipment to communicate. We've talked about using FaceTime as an app to communicate with iOS devices, Apple devices, and we've now talked about using Duo to connect with. And we've talked about using Duo, which is, of course, is multi-platform. It can be used on any device to connect with our loved ones. And again, both these apps are free. We also discussed using widgets, because my idea would be as if our loved ones couldn't manage the devices, were concerned about menuing, we could simply click on the picture of the person that they wanted to contact. And if there was no Wi-Fi availability in their area they were in, then certainly all these devices come with SIM cards. You can put SIM cards in and have a cellular connection, which would give you internet access. Most of the time you probably would just use Wi-Fi. Moving on now, many of you will say to me, gee Ron, that's all fine and dandy, but maybe there's problems with vision. Maybe there's some dementia. Maybe there's bad arthritis. And there are people who just couldn't use these devices. We need something better. We need something that you don't actually physically have to hold. We could just talk to it. Well, in fact, that leads us into our next segment, which is two products. Some are by Amazon and some are by Google. And we're going to talk a little bit about first of all, the Echo product line and some of the unique features that allow communication without actually physically having to hold the device. And in some cases, this can all be done remotely by the caregiver. So let me explain how this works. Now I would like to go over Amazon's impressive lineup. I am not going to use the A word because otherwise all your devices are going to go off in this presentation. Safe to say, in front of you are the devices I own of Amazon's. On the left-hand side, you'll see the Amazon Show. In the center, you'll see the Amazon Dot. And on the right side, you'll see my Sonos speaker that is Amazon enabled. Some of these devices can be used as a hub. In this particular device, you can see the Echo Plus can be used as a hub. This means it will be recognizing Zigbee or Z-Wave devices. Amazon devices have a unique communication feature that can be used to drop in on someone's Amazon device. In the following example, you'll see how Brett drops in on his daughter as she's cleaning his room. In the second example, you'll see how he drops in on a man in a different home. This is done by Amazon's drop-in feature. With appropriate security, you can link this service to any Amazon account and then any Amazon device within that account. Let's see how this works.
So first, let's dive into Communicate. So if you haven't already, you most likely will need to go into the Amazon application and set up all of these features so that you have functionality to them. So first, let's talk about Drop-In. Drop-In allows you to access other Echo devices in your home or other devices that have been linked to your account through the messaging service. So I could drop in on my parents' house into their kitchen and talk to them without them having to do anything. So let's go ahead and drop in on another room and see what they're doing. So we can either choose to drop in or we could drop in by voice. Drop in on kids' room. What are you doing?
Sharing some gum. Sharing some gum.
Oh, that sounds fun. Have you cleaned your room yet?
Yeah.
Okay, it's gonna be clean. We'll go to the park, all right?
All right, but what if we don't finish it? No. Hey, meet you here. Bye. Hey.
All right, bye.
You here. Bye.
Next, you have announce. So you could announce that you're home and it will broadcast a message to all the Echoes in your home. Here you could call somebody via the Echo Show. Here you could message, so I could message my daughter's Echo and then she could message me back and we have a one-to-one conversation like that. Send a message to Adele.
Okay, Brett. What's the message?
Thanks for cleaning your room.
Got it. Should I send it?
Yes.
Sending to Adele.
And then here you can show the contacts you have available. So let's go ahead and use the call feature and we're going to do this by voice. Alexa, video call Randy Bristow.
Calling Randy Bristow's Alexa devices.
So now if he has multiple devices, like he has an Echo Show or he has the Alexa app on his phone, it would actually just call his phone and we can video chat that way as well, as long as he has linked his Amazon account. Oh, hey, how's it going?
Fine, how are you?
Good. So you're talking on your Echo Show.
Yes.
Did it ring your phone as well?
No. I just heard it on the Alexa show, and it said Brett Bristow is trying to talk to you.
Okay. And here on screen, I can move my little camera guy around. So if you want him to be in a different corner. All right. So on the Echo Show 5, I do have a 1 megapixel camera, and over on his Echo Show, he does have a 5 megapixel camera. But for the most part, this looks pretty good. All right. And then at any time, I could mute the video on screen, or I can use the mute switch. So here you can see the white icon indicating that they can't see me, and you can see that the camera has been turned off there. All right, Mr. Bristow, thanks for the help today.
You bet. Anytime. Good luck.
Okay, sounds good. See you later.
Bye-bye.
So that is how you make a video call. You can also call with voice, and you can also call mobile phone numbers in the US, Canada, and Mexico for free.
There are a number of Google Home products that have been rebranded recently to the Google Nest. I don't think these integrate quite as well as the Amazon products, but still are very functional. Google Nest has its own plans to deal with 911 emergency, and we'll be talking about that in a moment.
Dad, come back to the camera. What are you looking for?
There's a rock I showed you, but there's this one.
You showed me that already. The rock that you found.
Looks like a piece of wood.
Yes, the rock that looks like a piece of wood. I think it is a piece of wood, but that's...
Yeah, it's not in... Yeah.
Okay, maybe it's in that bottom drawer. The one down to the right. Could it be in the attic? Look in your socks drawer. In your car? In the trunk? If you look down at your rug, is there a big lump? Could it be in a book that's actually like a little safe that you open up the book and the first page says dictionary and then it's hollowed out? You know how sometimes things end up in gloves? Might you have done that?
Apple makes HomePods. These connect Apple devices.
Okay, in the last video, you saw how we can use the Amazon devices and also the Google devices as a communication tool. The drop-in feature with the Amazon devices is a very unique feature, and I think something that we really need to pay attention to. If you had a loved one in a supportive care facility and they had an Echo Show beside their bed, let's say I have the small version, but I think the larger one is about a 10-inch, they could have that sitting by the bed. You could simply drop in on them whenever you wanted, as long as the accounts were linked, and talk. In fact, you could initiate the call and talk as long as you want. This is extremely important for helping communicate with our loved ones in different locations. Hopefully the isolation we saw with COVID-19, and our seniors will not happen in the future as these technologies improve.
Well, we've talked about Apple's FaceTime, we've talked about Google's Duo, we've talked about Google's Home Nest, and we've talked about Amazon's Echo. Now, the next thing you're probably going to say to me, well, Ron, can't we just have Zoom on all these devices? Well, let's see what Jeff Smith says. He's the head of Zoom Rooms and was recently interviewed in a recent Zoom conference. Let's see what he has to say about this.
D10 has also announced Zoom for Home D10 on TV that can power any TV for meetings where it's better to lean back. Now, we understand that beyond our traditional use for work, Zoom has become a vital part of social interactions. We're supporting these users where they are by bringing the best Zoom experiences to devices throughout your home. This summer, we announced plans for Zoom on Google Nest Hub Max, Facebook Portal, and Amazon Echo Show that should all be available by the end of the year. Today, we're announcing even more Zoom for Home devices from D10, Neat, HP, Yealink, and Lenovo. Together, we're working on joint solutions that will provide more options than ever before to take working from home to the next level.
Wow, so Zoom's going to be integrated on all those devices. The next thing you're going to say to me is, Ron, why don't we just have Zoom on our televisions? Let's see what Jeff Smith has to say about that.
With features like personal calendar integration, voice assistants, and intelligent cameras, it's never been easier to Zoom from home. You've seen the smart displays, and soon you'll be able to video enable large displays, whether they're in your living room or your home office. Coming early next year, the D10 on TV can be connected to any TV and pairs seamlessly with the Zoom mobile or desktop client. Users will be able to join meetings from their calendar, call favorite contacts, and view shared content from a secure device that can be managed by IT or by the users themselves. And we're planning to expand to more devices in the near future.
Thank you, Jeff.
Well, this is getting a bit ridiculous. The next thing they'll have is a Zoom phone.
Zoom Phone is a modern cloud phone system add-on to your Zoom subscription. From a single platform, Zoom can now provide video, voice, chat, and collaboration in one easy-to-use solution. Zoom Phone allows you to make phone calls right from the Phone tab of your Zoom app. You can also use your existing desk phones or stay connected on the go with the Zoom mobile app. It's simple to make calls to your internal contacts and to external numbers. You can even change the number you're calling from to suit a specific situation. While connected, you can easily transfer a call internally, place someone on hold, conference in another party, or record the call for later review. Once a call has ended, you'll be able to view your recent call history and return calls with a single click. Your voicemails will be transcribed and accessible as well, allowing for easy review and follow-up. From your Zoom profile, you can configure call forwarding and delegation rules to easily manage your call workflow and set your business hours and how others can reach you. With Zoom Phone, all your communication and collaboration tools live in one place, making it easier than ever to connect the way you want.
Well, I guess Zoom will probably end up running your office. Let's see what Jeff Smith says about that.
Hey Oded, you know better than anyone that how and where we work is changing, so I wanted to show you all the things Zoom is doing to make it super safe and easy for employees to re-enter the office. Even from the moment you walk in, you can get checked in virtually through our Zoom Rooms kiosk mode. Hey Dava, how's it going? Hey Esther. And then from there, they can do what's needed to make sure I can enter the building. This makes things like temperature checks super easy. In places like your hallways and your lobbies, you can push out really cool Zoom Rooms digital signage content like your capacity limits or your safety protocols. And then outside of your meeting rooms, you can see how many people are in the room before you even enter. And the great thing about this is not only are you providing your employees with valuable information, IT admins can check things like the CO2 level, air quality, and room occupancy straight from the Zoom dashboard. Once I'm in a Zoom room, I can start my meeting completely touch-free using voice commands. Hello Zoom, start meeting. Hey guys, how's it going?
Yes, sir.
So the cool thing here is it's leveraging AI. Zoom Room Smart Gallery is pulling the faces of the people in the room and it's pushing it as individual streams so I can have a better face-to-face conversation with them. You can also do things like pair your mobile device or your laptop so you can control your room camera, mute your audio, so you don't even have to touch the room controller. All of this is setting the stage for collaboration, so I can share my screen and co-annotate with my colleagues, whether they're at home or in the office, whatever device they're on. And then we can share straight to Zoom chat so that we can pick up where we left off later. We understand that managing hybrid workforces and re-entering the office is going to be a challenge. So Zoom is here to make that transition as smooth as possible. Thanks for your help, guys.
COVID-19 has changed the way we communicate with each other. It's changed the way we buy groceries. It's also changed the way we do shopping. When we emerge from this pandemic, I don't think we'll ever go back to the way it was. Google, Microsoft, and Apple all announced this week that people will be working from home in a home office permanently. The home office is a reality. We need to power this technology with a strong, reliable internet. The internet is going to be the key building block that allows the post-COVID era to emerge. Let's look at the options we'll have for a strong, reliable internet this following year. Let me give you an example of why this is so important in the post-COVID era. Securing a fast, reliable internet can make a big difference in your livelihood. This past summer, I read an article about a teacher and her husband who lived in Nova Scotia. This is a big city in a province in eastern Canada. They were looking at retiring and decided to retire about 40 miles north of Halifax in a cottage. This was it was a smaller house. It was on a couple of acres of land, and they thought this would be a perfect retirement and was only 40 miles from the big city. So this lady and her husband both decided to sell their family home in Halifax and sort of move out into the rural area where they would be could start their retirement soon. She was a teacher, and I don't remember exactly what he did for a living, but it was something in technology in the city. So the problem with this piece of property is there was no internet. And the problem was it just barely got cell phone reception, not enough to use a hotspot. She was a teacher, and along came COVID-19. She then, of course, was isolating in her house, and she, when the school started up again, she was required to teach, but she had to teach online. This created a huge problem because she couldn't do it in her house. So she had to drive 20 miles to a library where she spent the day in the library doing her classroom work. Her husband, I don't remember the specifics, but lost his job because of the COVID-19, and he couldn't work from home because, again, they had no internet. So this really threw their lives in a difficult position because they had not secured a fast, reliable internet. So please, as we move forward in this post-COVID era, it is so important that you think about, no matter where you go, a fast, reliable internet. Now we're going to look at 5 internet solutions for you from the slowest to the fastest. And we'll look at DSL. We're going to look at Starlink, the new satellite system. We're going to talk about cable systems, fiber optic systems, and of course the new fixed base 5G. Digital subscriber line, or DSL. This is what the phone companies used to use to provide internet to your homes through the telephone line. This is usually found in central area, in urban areas, particularly in downtown centers. It was often put in condominiums, large apartment office buildings, because it couldn't be very far from the transmitting site. It was able to provide services to a lot of people, but it really couldn't go very far. So they use this in very congested areas such as living areas such as condominiums and apartments or office buildings. This is really problematic now because a lot of these lines are very old. And the maximum DSL speed you'll get is around, could be up to 100 megabits download. The concern is that a lot of the buildings that have this in them, the speed is certainly not 100 megabits when you actually test it in the actual room. So you must be very, very careful if you plan on moving into an older building. You certainly like it. They tell you that, oh yes, it's got fast DSL. What you need to do is actually go into the building and measure the DSL coming out of the connector, because you may find it is extremely slow. And this could be a big problem if you moved into your brand new condo and you found that the internet was not reliable and you couldn't do and didn't meet your needs. So please be careful of DSL. Let's look at Starlink. Starlink is a new technology that of course everyone is excited about. It looks as though it's going to be around $100 a month, and the download speeds are going to be around 100 megabits per second, maybe a little faster, maybe a little bit slower. I think Starlink is an excellent service that will be providing internet to people who can't already have internet. Will it be a solution for everybody? No, it won't be, but it will be a solution for those people who live in rural areas like this particular teacher I was telling you about that can't get internet. And internet again will be the cornerstone of your post-COVID era. I'm very fortunate. I have fiber optic cable coming to my front door, as well as the second company provides cable service. I subscribe to the cable service with Shaw Communication, and last week I upgraded my system to a gigabit connection. This gives me 1,000 megabytes download and about 120 megabytes upload. We use a software called DOCSIS 3.1, which is the software that runs the cable internet system, and this provides some limitations in the upload speed. So usually you can't match the upload and download speed as equal. However, recent changes have provided a significant increase in the upload speed, and I'm so pleased to have the fastest connection I've ever had in my life. It's a lot of fun. So in talking with the technician that installed it on Saturday, he was telling me that you have to remember that the backbone of cable systems is usually fiber optic. And he said that down the fiber optic lines are just down the street from me, and then they run the coax down to the houses. So cable systems are trying to compete with the faster speeds now. And in fact, the megabit or the gigabit connection was only $10 more a month than my existing service. So when you are in the post-COVID era now, it is so important that we try to secure and find a reliable, fast internet connection. So look again at your cable companies as they are starting to change and offer services of much faster speed. Now, a steady, fast, reliable internet is definitely a fiber optic cable. If you have the opportunity to be connected with fiber optic, this is a very, very good connection. Probably as a residential service, the maximum that we'll be getting on fiber optic is 2 gigabytes. So this will still be slower than the new 5G, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But it's an excellent service, and if you have the opportunity, fiber optic connection is the way to go. Now, in closing, I'd like to talk about 5G technology, which is the future of communication. It will provide the fastest and most reliable form of communication as we move into the future. In the post-COVID era, this is going to be a cornerstone of our communication. Now, most of the wireless companies now offer fixed-base 5G communication. And I would strongly encourage you to look in your community. As this is rolled out across the United States and Canada, it should be available now in your community. The speeds at which you're going to be able to get the internet using this is around 300 megabits per second download. Fixed base 5G is where there's an aerial on your house. It then communicates to a 5G tower, and then the line comes down and connects to a modem and your router. Well, the initial speeds now are around 300 megabits per second. This is because the 5G development is really in its infancy and the speeds need to increase, but they have the potential of moving up into around 5,000 megabit download. This is incredible speeds, and that should be available in the next few years. We're already looking at 6G and moving on to the next generation over the next few years. So that this will provide an incredibly fast, reliable internet service for your home, and it should be available all throughout the United States and Canada in the short term. So you should look at this because the deals now are incredibly cheap. This is very, very good value. Just go to your wireless provider and ask and look at the pricing on this.
This was going to be a big, big step in the digital world.
It's the newest, it's the latest, greatest technology.
It's so fast, it's easy, it's like lightning.
5G Home has been almost revolutionary from my previous provider. The installation was probably one of the easiest installations I've ever had.
The speeds are exponentially quicker than what I've had prior with other services.
Easy. It's painless.
The streaming and downloading is almost faster than my computer can write to my hard disk.
It's been perfect.
I love it.
Now I'm Verizon 5G home person.
Well, COVID-19 has certainly changed our lives. Will things go back the way they were? I don't think so. You've already seen big changes in the way we communicate with each other, the way we do shopping, the way we buy our groceries. Some things will go back to the way they were, but many things will remain changed. I've tried to show you some of the new technologies that will be coming this year. I'm super excited about them. I guess one of the messages I want to leave with you is a change of attitude. I think that we need to secure a fast, reliable internet because that will be the key to staying connected with our loved ones and doing the things that will be coming in the future. This means budgeting. The internet is going to need a household budget, such as your water services, your garbage services, and the other services that you have with your house. You need to budget that in as a factor and then secure a fast, reliable service. Also, the thing about COVID-19 that broke my heart was certainly seeing the isolation of our seniors. There's no need for that. The communication technology that we have today can easily provide good communication with our loved ones. So I implore you to go out and talk to people about this and help change the attitude so this doesn't have to happen again. It's Ron Brown. I hope you have enjoyed watching the video as much as I had so much fun making it. Stay safe and be sure and wear your mask.